Hello, this is Lee Umphrey, President of EMDC, and I'm here with my colleague.
Hello, Tiara Smith. I'm a Work Development Specialist for EMDC.
Hi, my name is Brianna Lavin. I am also a Workforce Development Specialist here at EMDC.
And I'm Laura Fortman, Commissioner of the Maine Department of Labor.
So part of what EMDC does in reaching communities, we do a lot of workforce development work and reaching young people. This morning at the Career Center, the commissioner was there talking to different groups and different people about all the efforts we make. And one of the things we've done as an organization to reach young people is to create a youth team. And it's been enormously successful because of the work you guys have done. And so we're here today just to kind of talk about some of the techniques on how to reach young people, how to keep them in the program, and how to get them jobs. So before we begin, Commissioner, you've approaching the longest tenure of any commissioner of labor.
Are you just saying I'm really, really old? And that's why you thought I needed
That's exactly. I want to put this
refresher?
in perspective. I want to point out that you're really old and you still get it. So it's a good thing. But Laura and I worked together with Governor Baldacci, and she's been there with Governor Mills. And you've done a lot with not only pay equity and workplace and young people, but can you talk a little bit about how you started in your career, some of the challenges you've faced, and why and how did you get on this path to become a commissioner? You did a lot of advocacy work, you did a lot of community development, but what was it? Was there anybody that helped you guide, or was it self-guided?
Wow, all of the above. I think that, as Lee pointed out, I've been doing this work for a really, really long time. And one of the conversations that we had earlier today was with the president of Eastern Maine Community College. And she said when she started, there were 3 paths for women. And it was true when I started as well. It was, do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a nurse? Or do you want to be a secretary? So those were the options. But fortunately, I also lived in a time where the women's movement was really beginning to gain some traction. So one of our friends, Lois Reckitt, who recently passed away, was someone who was actively involved in the women's movement and really looking at how do you put a gender lens on some of the things that were happening. So I started out in the sexual assault crisis movement, worked closely with Lois Reckitt, who was in domestic violence, and recognized that all of us individually could do really important work, and that direct service was critical. But unless we were making policy changes, the system itself wasn't going to change. So I was fortunate to have kind of come up with a cohort of incredibly talented women who helped each other a lot as we tried to make change.
And it really says something that there was only a few paths. Liz Russell found the path to be president of the community college, and you found the path to be commissioner. So, so how are you connecting with the young people, your peers, and what do you have to do to convince them that this is a good thing to do?
Well, really, I think that when we get a chance to explain the program and what we offer, it kind of sells itself because it's such a great program, and the youth really get interested when you say things like, we can help you pay for tuition, because those are such barriers. We can help you get into driver's ed. These are things that they never have experienced someone wanting to help them with before, so that's what hooks them usually. But it's not that's tricky, getting them interested, it's keeping them interested. So when we start them out, they're very excited, and so are we. It can be a little slow moving, getting things ready, so it's just staying consistent with them and letting them know that we're somebody they can really count on. We're going to show up for them, and that for a lot of these youth is what they don't have. And
when they hesitate, what do you do? How do you?
On the other end of that, we have to have a strong backbone, but we have to be very flexible for people. People have things come up in life, and they call us last minute and say, I'm so sorry, I know we had an appointment, and it's our job to respond with, it's okay, we'll figure it out, we'll find another day, another time, and we just try to make them understand that it might be hard, but we're here to get you through it.
And I think that I can really take off of that just based off of youth in general. Youth sometimes really create this wall that they aren't so trusting of people coming in and allowing them to help them. So it's really important when we're connecting with youth and trying to get them to come into these programs and allow them to utilize these services, that they're understanding that we're on the same level as them and we're thinking the same way that they are. And I think it's important that we have somebody that's at least a little bit close to their ages. It's just a lot more comfortable for them because they feel maybe they might just be a little bit more listened to, because that's just how their mind is at that time. And it's just overall making, like Tiara said, just making sure that we're there and they're understanding that we're willing to work with them, because we don't want them to feel that this is stressful for them. This is our way of taking away their stress. So we just want to make it something that's enjoyable and just making sure that we're flexible and on the same level as them.
Right.
Yeah, and I think, Lee, and this is probably not the path you wanted me to go down, but as we were talking about like the early days of, well, the last phase of the women's movement, a big piece of it was peer-to-peer support.
Exactly.
And you folks are near peer support. You've got some skill and some expertise, yet, as you pointed out, close enough in age that it's not
intimidating.
Right. And so how to build on that, and I think that that's part of our responsibility, is to make sure that young people see people who look like them, providing that leadership and support. So
Yeah.
And how do you set goals with young people when they get in the program? Do they have an idea in mind, or do you have to help them set the goals?
So it's really, I'll probably say this a million times, it's a case-by-case scenario. Every youth is different, but we do make it very big and very prevalent to youth that there need to be goals set. So if we do the first initial intake with a youth and we're at the point where they've described some of their interest, we like to try to make the goals based off of their interests. We don't want to make this goal of, we're going to make it a goal of you to get a job. We don't want it to be something just that. We want it to be very individualized and personalized to them. So if we have a youth who's interested, say, in construction, we want to make it a goal for them to maybe learn some more things about construction, reach out to some more people, get some more resources, stuff like that. We don't like to just necessarily make it, we want you to get a job. It's so much more than that.
And we push them to have a short-term goal and a long-term goal, because as you know, that long-term goal is going to change over and over and over depending where you're at in life. But it's important to think about the short term, because people can't focus on their future unless their right now is okay. So we really try to help them navigate the right now and then give them a space to think about the future, which a lot of them just haven't even had a chance to do.
the other thing I heard you giving people permission about today was to try something and discover that, you know what, that wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So to have a
and with our industry exploration, so that cohort that you saw today and a couple of the cohorts that Bri and I are in, that's the idea of them, is to be able to bring them out into the workforce and see things that they might not have saw themselves doing, or things they just see and they really know that's not for me, because that gives them the opportunity then to not go waste time and energy going pursue something that is not for them.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the goals and the interests and the skills don't always
Line
match.
up, yeah.
So it's, and what about with businesses? Is it hard with businesses to accept young people, or do they think, I want to do this?
I've personally had great success with businesses. I think as long as we are clear about sharing the mission, why we're bringing them in, and what they're there to do, and what this is doing for that individual, everyone I spoke to so far in businesses has been excited to be a part of it.
And I feel the same way. We've done a lot with just building like relationships with businesses, because like, as we know, jobs are changing and becoming new every day. So there's a lot of interest that youth have about these jobs that they see online, and they're like, well, what can I find out about this? So we've done a lot of just making it our job to stay up to date and make sure that we're just aware of the changes as they are. So yeah, with businesses, it's been really good. We just really like to make the mission clear and what our goals are. Like, besides the youth, we really like to make the youth goals very prevalent, but we also like make our goals also noticeable, that we really want this youth to be successful.
Yeah.
And I think sharing our story and some other stories of other participants that we've had, it's really, really good. So we just have to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward and just really putting our story, our plan, and just what our vision is, and making it very noticeable to them. And I think that's what is easiest to do when creating relationships with
Right.
businesses.
And I think the business piece too, like what I hear from businesses is, where are the young people? How can you connect me with them? You know, we would love to have some people understand what the jobs are. So I think that the work that you're doing of serving as kind of that broker, that intermediary between the young people and the businesses is just really, really important.
It
Absolutely.
really is. Laura, what about non-traditional jobs? Is that a focus for the department, trying to get women, young people?
It is definitely a focus of the department. Particularly, we have significant federal investments being made in the state right now around clean energy, construction. And if you look at workforce, what the workforce is made up of, it's still primarily men. And these are great opportunities for young women. And sometimes young women don't see themselves in those roles. You know, someone was talking to me the other day and saying, you know, if every young woman who was like passionate around math or science understood that there could be an opportunity for her in these occupations, they would not only have a very successful career, but also serve as a model for other young people. And part of it, I think you had said something about they may not see themselves in these jobs or even understand what the job is. So I think that kind of career exploration that you're talking about, it's like, oh, let me try this. Guess what? I really like working with my hands. I like math. I like the physical activity. Maybe construction is a good opportunity for me. And right now, there are pre-apprenticeship programs that give people a chance to like just dabble a little bit, as well as registered apprenticeship opportunities and community college experiences.
Exactly.
Kind of off that, definitely I think something that Brie and I strive to do, and I would say every day our work that we do is figure out what their strengths are and interests are, because if they have a skill that they feel is not applicable to anything, but it's what they're passionate about, then they're not going to want to share that. We have very artistic kids that we work with. We have people who are very good with their hands and just don't know how to use that as a skill yet. So we also try to like say, hey, this is what you're good at. You're good at this. You could do this for a job. And they might not even know that that's a thing. For example, like we have some people that we work with that have ADHD, and they really need something that can be hands-on for them. And so it came to my mind about like a package handling kind of job in a warehouse. So we've made those relationships. Brie, if you want to share I know you had a special case where
I did.
we didn't have the work experience that the person was looking for, but we found it. So.
I have a youth who has a very extensive barrier. And he really needed something that was a very low profile, a calm environment, and a lot of jobs these days are not like that. So the first thing that came into my head was the library. A library is perfect. I know EMDC has done a lot of work with some libraries in the past with work experiences, so I was like, perfect. And he lives in he's more local towards Brewer, so we tried the Brewer Library, and he has been there successfully for 5 weeks.
Nice.
We have done 2 evaluations. He likes to focus on the archive room. His goal is to become an archivist. He's going to school for it.
Great.
He's been there successfully for about 5 weeks. We've had 2 evaluations, and he has hit excellent on everything. So it's been very successful. It's very good. So we like to work with youth also that may have those. There are youth that have barriers, but some are a little bit more extensive. So we like to take those cases into extra consideration sometimes and understand that we may have to put in a little extra work, but it's worth it in the end because it makes the person more successful.
And do you connect people with mentors? I mean, I don't know, Lee, you started out doing some work in a library, didn't you?
I really did. My first job was Library of Congress, so I had great affinity to that story because it was at a point where I had to decide if that was going to be my career or not, and I would have been very happy to have that as my career.
Yeah.
So I'm really pleased. I'd like to meet them sometime.
Yes, I would love that. He's a phenomenal kid. He's awesome.
We actually did just meet with Susan, and we talked with her about finding someone for each one of the youth in our cohort that applies to their story that they could sit down individually with. We have about 8 students in that group, and we have 8 speakers that are going to be lined up to talk with each one, all different. because we feel their story aligns with that youth specifically. And I think that doing more of that work and seeking out the just opportunities to have a conversation with someone that they might resonate with is going to be really helpful moving forward.
Do you think that helps them realize that their dream can come true, seeing other people?
Absolutely. Myself included, I never saw myself doing this kind of work simply because I didn't know what it took to get into it. I didn't know if my experience was useful, and I was nervous, but I think that if you can just let them know if you're eager and, like you said, excited to work, then for a lot of people that's enough to give you a chance. And then once you get that chance, it's making a good impression, which Bree and I work on all the time, teaching them how to do that, how to network themselves and make these relationships and these conversations make things happen for them.
So everybody does this, but everybody has a misstep. How do you handle a young person in a job that makes a mistake, doesn't show up,
Yeah.
how do you help them?
So I think that the best way to come across it is definitely just having a conversation about it. I do feel that reprimanding somebody is definitely, they need to be told that that's not okay and they need to learn from that, but I don't look at it as a way to criticize them for making a mistake.
We use the words a lot, be your best self.
Yes.
And that's what we like to say because we don't want them to think they have to be anybody specific. They just have to be the best self.
The best version of themselves. So I think it's really important that if we run into a scenario where a youth is not showing up to work, that we make it very apparent to the employer that they need to contact us first. We like to be the first line of contact with that youth because they are doing a work experience. They are not a permanent employee there, and they're probably already very stressed out. So we like to make it known that make us your first line of contact, and we just have a conversation with the youth. It's as simple as just being like, hey, what's going on? Why are you not showing up? Is this not enjoyable? Is there something we can do?
Good.
And a lot of the time it can just be like, oh no, I realized I didn't like this and I'm too scared to be honest with them, so I'm just not going to go. And it's
and that's
just
our opportunity
yeah.
to teach them the skills to do that the right way.
Mhm.
Or if they're feeling stuck somewhere, then that's when they come to us. That's where we kind of come in. Is they don't realize that they're starting their professional. That's their reputation. Moving forward, you're creating your reputation. So we kind of stop them, step back. Do you want to be known as somebody who doesn't show up on time? And they might not have thought about it that way. And so to be able to put them in the driver's seat of their reputation, I think is important.
It's just a lot of self-reflection. We like them to really just be like, do you really want to do this? Is this not working for you? And it's also just telling them that honesty goes a really long way, and just bringing it up, speaking up, talking, and just doing all of that is the most important key part of it, because it's okay if it's not working for you. We need to know that though, and that's what we just make it known.
So those are skills that are really tough skills, though. I mean, you said, oh, they need to speak up.
It's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard.
So how do you help people with that? Because that
we-
is incredibly hard.
We've created added to the curriculum that is Young Mainers Workforce Program. I don't know if you're familiar with that curriculum.
I'm not.
It's a class that's taught online Mondays and Wednesdays, and then we also teach it in person now too. And we teach those things. We go from the very beginning, dress code, to resumes, to applications, to and they also get paid to take this class. They get paid minimum wage while they're doing this.
In school hours.
And the idea is that by the end of it, right, they might not still have the skill, they might still need to hone it in,
Right.
but they've had exposure to it, and they understand now that there are all these parts that they didn't even realize. So I think that for the people coming in that have none of those soft skills yet, they take that Young Mainers class. That's their kind of notch in the belt, and then we would put them into a work experience. We wouldn't put somebody into a work experience
Without
that
that.
had none of those skills, because we know that they wouldn't be successful.
We focus even like Tiara said, we won't do a work experience for a youth who hasn't had we do allow them if they have had a JMG credential in high school, if they've taken JMG, or if they've had previous work experience. If they are I don't need this, then we'll move into a work experience. But most of the time we will not do one with a youth who has nothing, unless they have taken Young Mainers, because a lot of them are lacking those soft skills of being able to speak up and talk. So we do communication. We brought in a new topic, which is burnout prevention, which I think is really prevalent in our youth population, at least currently. But we focus on, yes, the really dry and straightforward basics of employment, and we cover that, but we also like to go a lot deeper into it because you need to learn the communication skills, you need to learn how the confrontation skills. We do a lot about conflict resolution in the workplace because a lot of the time we see it's very prevalent that people will just walk out nowadays. It's not, there's no explanation, there's no talking, it's just I'm done. So we've really touched on just about, I think, everything that we could, just on trying to get them prepared to gain those soft skills.
And if there's anything during the class that comes up and they don't understand, or even if it's not in our curriculum, as a WDS working with you, come to us and say, hey, I have an interview coming up, and that's our job. That's our job, to be there to prep you, to make you feel supported. So I think we do it in the class, but we also do it just in general with the people that we work with.
And how do you recruit young people for this?
So there's 100 million different ways. So for this specific cohort, I'll just touch on this and I'll give a few other examples. For this specific cohort, I had a previous relationship with Brewer High. So I was utilizing my previous networking, and we recruited these youth were recruited by Kevin Napalillo, the ELO coordinator. But with the EMDC Connect, they're alternative ed students. So we're like, oh, that might be maybe a little bit more of a demographic that might need some assistance, who might need just a little bit more. So we like to really look at the populations that we think that our presence is best needed and would have a good effect. Like our alternative educations, our adult educations, everything like that. Because there's a lot of places where, yes, our resources are out there, but they're just not always so known to everybody. So we try to put ourselves in different community centers and different schools, different businesses. We just really try to make our presence known throughout Bangor, Brewer, and all of our counties, just so people know that there is a one-stop shop to your career, pretty
Just
much.
to feed off that a little bit, our relationships with the schools, the way that we recruit youth there is, we teach the classes in person, so youth see us, they get interested, they ask, what are you here for, what's going on, I want to be a part of it. But also that we've created relationships with teachers, like Kevin now will refer kids to us. We have those teachers who we've made relationships with, understand what we're looking for, and so they seek those students out and they kind of place them with us. And then we've also been placed in a bunch of career fairs, job fairs at high schools where there's juniors and seniors walking around that none of them know, and we have a table there, so it's like, some of them might be very drawn to that idea of here's some help. So,
and on the backside, obviously, that's a lot of our in-person stuff. We do our normal I wouldn't say cold call, but our outreach where we'll just send some cold emails or some cold texts to some youth that have maybe come up on our radar on our main job link or something that has come up in our data, and we'll do some cold texts, some cold calls to that, and we'll try to interact with people through that. That has been something that we have worked on making a little bit more better, because sometimes it's a little bit hard. So we try to definitely utilize the community and the in-person a lot more, just because it's a more efficient. But we do behind the scenes more electronic, over the screen type of communication of outreach as well.
That being said, if you're interested in our services, you just have to send an email to Workforce. Literally just an email that says, I'm interested, send it. And that's your first step. Whoever is interested.
Yeah, whoever's watching.
And a business can do that too.
A business
Yes.
can do the same, reaching out for us to establish that relationship where if they're needing employees, right, and don't have them coming in, we can not only bring them employees, but bring them the employees that we see are a good fit for them specifically. So.
Yeah. And yeah, we have a lot of, there's a lot of different ways to get in connection with youth. I'm just trying to think of another way we've done it. We've done the online, the in-person. I think that overall that would really sum up what we've done. The career fairs, we'll be doing one at Brewer. We got invited to do one there, so that will be another one of our events to hopefully gather some more Brewer kiddos. We'd like to work with, obviously, more schools. We're working on trying to do some more outreach based on maybe some places a little bit closer. I've done some work with Orono. She does a lot of work with Old Town. So we're just trying to kind of hit all the bases and just kind of make our presence, even if we're not there all the time, we just want people to know that our presence is there and we are available and we're there for resources and for help.
And I think moving forward too, each of our success stories will talk to other people, and the word will spread that way because they'll say, "Hey, how did you do that?" And other youth will wonder, and hopefully they'll spread the good word themselves too.
Yes, and your good work is reaching here. We really hear almost daily the impact that both of you and your teammates are making. It's talking about you folks going someplace and engaging with people, so
I
it's
think
really making a
being part of it.
difference.
Being part of such a great team is I don't think I could do it as well alone.
Yeah.
So
What's your favorite part of the job?
personally, it's finding a way to use the skills I had that I never saw as skills. Now, every day it's a tool. And for me, that's my favorite part.
My favorite part is, I know I've talked about Burr so much. I graduated from there, so it's a big piece for me, and Kevin played a really big role in helping me get everything situated and actually getting into EMDC. So overall, it's just really giving back is like my favorite part, because myself, I'm not going to say that I went through a bunch of hardships, but I definitely faced some things as a youth that made me go down a path where I didn't necessarily like really have any interest or really wanted to do anything, and I needed to get out of that funk. And now that I'm here and I'm seeing how easy it is, it's just I want to do it for everybody now because it's a possible plan to turn stuff around.
Yeah.
It's not always, it doesn't always have to be the way you expect it to.
It really, and look at you, you're with the Commissioner of Blanket.
Yes.
I mean, how great is that?
Yes.
Great.
It's awesome.
So any final comments from you, Commissioner, before we have them give closing comments?
No, the only thing is I just really appreciate the work that you're doing, and you inspire me. It's your dedication, your enthusiasm, your focus on how to help the people who are coming up behind you is inspiring, and it gives me incredible hope for us as a state. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for what you do.
Yes,
I'm
thank you.
also proud to work for the state, so thank you very much.
I'm gonna write that down. I don't say that very much. But, you know, as an organization, you guys are a highlight in what you're doing, and it's so important, not only to be a sustainable organization that grows, but to inspire young people, and both of you are doing it. And I want to thank you because you, in your tenure as commissioner, has always focused on creating opportunities for people. And sometimes there's a lot of other stuff that gets in the way. But it's really important, I think, for somebody in your position to focus on success and opportunities and to be here with us. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And thank you very much. It's been great overall.
Great. So why don't you click that magic button over there?
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Ooh, do I hit?